Today there are a lot of updates from the Kherson region. After conducting a long-requested missile strike on the Ukrainian bridgehead, Russians slowly realized that it did not change the situation, and Ukrainians continued conducting their planned operations. In order to rectify their failure, Russian Air Force decided to bomb the area with FAB-500 air-dropped bombs. Unfortunately for the Russians, the pilots did not do a great job, and the bombs missed the target, which is why this operation was almost completely omitted by the media space. In the meantime, Ukrainians continued accumulating forces and equipment to resist Russian assaults more efficiently. Since it was happening right after a series of strikes, the Russian command assumed that Ukrainians were desperately pumping soldiers in order to compensate for the losses and retain the bridgehead, which is why Russians sent just one T-72 tank to target and demolish what was left of Ukrainians and Ukrainian positions. However, the estimations could not be further from the truth. Ukrainian reconnaissance teams quickly noticed the advancing Russian tank and communicated the information to the ATGM crews, which rapidly set out to meet the attackers. The moment the Russian tank assumed its firing position, it immediately received a Ukrainian missile. The tank and the crew survived and started running away, but they promptly received the second missile in the rear, and the tank got critical damage and drove off the road. After receiving a clear sign that Ukrainians did not lose their combat capability, the Russian command started planning a new attack. Soon, Russian forces launched extensive artillery preparation on the eastern part of the Ukrainian bridgehead. Such actions opened a window of opportunity for the Russians to enter the region and start conducting offensive actions. For this purpose, Russia reportedly used several armored fighting vehicles and a tank. The tank reportedly provided fire support from a distance to minimize the chance of losing yet another tank. Russian sources immediately reported that deployment was successful, and all Russian assault units started confidently pushing the Ukrainian out. At first, Ukrainians were rapidly losing ground, however, the tide unexpectedly shifted. The moment Russians got close to the bridge, they faced overwhelming artillery fire. Russians realized that they got trapped in a fire bag and attempted to make a breakthrough. This risky move was assigned to the punitive Storm Z detachment, mostly consisting of prisoners, while soldiers from the 205th and 61st Brigades were clearing the houses. The risk did not pay off, and after incurring substantial losses, Russian forces started retreating. The Russian command decided to double down and reinforce the units on the ground and opened the second major axis of advance. The main assumption was that if Ukrainians are pushing east of the bridge, then their positions are weaker west of the bridge. Russian sources reported that the Russian operation stalled, and the troops found themselves in a very difficult situation, and later Ukrainian sources reported that radio intercepts revealed that they refused to make a suicidal push without support from the air, preferably bombing the area with FAB-500. Soon, it became evident that the strike would not happen, and Russian forces started gradually retreating while receiving ATGMs in the back. Overall, Ukrainians successfully lured Russians into a trap, where Russians exposed their flanks to the fire from the other side of the river. Russian analysts started blaming the Russian command for poor planning and the subsequent unsuccessful operation. Ukrainian Deputy Defense Minister commented on the situation and stated that in the aftermath of heavy fights in the vicinity of the Antonivsky Bridge, Ukrainian forces managed to inflict substantial losses on the enemy. More precisely, that day Ukrainians eliminated 50 Russian soldiers, 23 armored fighting vehicles and armored cars, and multiple boats and drones. The successful draining of Russian resources in this direction is contributing to the gradual depletion of the Russian forces. Once it reaches a critical level, Ukrainians will make the next move and advance on Oleshki.